Hello, welcome to Microfiche Microphone. I'm Micah, and on this channel, we look at microfiche from the past, old newspaper articles in the public domain. We look at them with our modern eyes, our modern perspective, and see what we can learn from them. On this microfiche time capsule, we are looking back at the Gentleman's Magazine from July 1800, and this article is entitled Ingenious Answer to Dr. Glasse to a Fair Hit. I think that the grammar leaves much to be desired. However, they did mention Dr. Glasse in a previous article that I have read, and that was from April 1800, and that article was called Dr. Glasse on the Plurality of Worlds Noticed. So the plurality of worlds was that mentioned is so they recently had discovered the planet Uranus, or Uranus, depending on how you pronounce it. And apparently that was more controversial than it should have been. I think it's a little funny. But if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Glasse was the person who had a problem with there being more than 6 planets for some biblical reason, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, where in the Bible does it say there are only 6 planets? I've read the Bible. I don't remember that part. Yeah, like, I just think it's very funny. Anyways, so let's take a look. All right, so Mr. Urban, July 5. Although your correspondent R.C., page 502, will find himself unable to convince me that the doctrine of a plurality of worlds is founded in truth, or supported by anything better than fanciful conjecture, yet he is entitled to my thanks for pointing out to me an error respecting the 2 Herods. If R.C. was better acquainted with the author, I hope he would discover him not in the flightiest? I hope he would discover in him not the slightest pretension to anything like infallibility. He was led into the mistake by a collection of the very similar circumstances which accompany the death of both those monsters of cruelty, of whom it is worthy of remark, that the judgment of heaven fell on each of them in a manner equally tremendous. What the flip are they talking about now? They were both tormented in the way which is set forth in the lecture alluded to, and every particular therein mentioned is applicable to the murder of the innocents, though improperly founded with the persecutor and murderer of the apostles. I am, sir, your constant reader and well-wisher. What the heck is he talking about? Do not tell me I read the wrong article. That does happen sometimes. But they did mention the plurality of worlds. Plurality is hard to say, by the way. But, like, what? Okay, I am certain that the people of the time knew what was going on. I'm sure that they're like, oh, this is what they're talking about. Okay. Let me reread that to see if I can figure out what in the world they're talking about. And also, I love the beginning. Your correspondent will find himself unable to convince me that the doctrine of plurality of worlds is founded in truth or supported by anything better than fanciful conjecture. Are you saying you don't believe that they discovered Uranus? You don't believe that they discovered Uranus? Like, that's basically what you're saying. What? Well, believe it, because it was true. Oh, like, I have, like, whoever wrote this, like, wow, you've got issues. Like more than just 1 or 2. Now, he's clearly talking about churchy things, yeah? Thank you, and he is entitled to my thanks for pointing out to me an error respecting the 2 Herods. If R.C. was better acquainted with the author, I hope he would discover in him not the slightest pretension to anything like infallibility. Okay, so he's saying that the author never said he was always right, yeah? He was led into the mistake by a recollection of the very similar circumstances which accompanied the death. Okay, here's where I think he's alluding to something that everybody would know, but I don't get it all. By the death of both those monsters of cruelty, of whom it is worthy of remark, that the judgment of heaven fell on each of them in a manner equally tremendous. Monsters of cruelty. I mean, I guess they're talking about Herod, because they said the 2 Herods, yeah? there was a father and a son, if I'm not mistaken. They were both named Herod. But, like, is that really who he's talking about? Because there was the Herod who was ruling at the time of Jesus' birth, who went out and tried to kill all the babies. And then there was the Herod who was ruling at the time of Jesus' death, who said, no, send him back to Pilate because I'm not making this decision, yeah? So I told you I'd read the Bible, yeah? So I think that's who he's talking about. Judgment of heaven fell on each of them in a manner equally tremendous. They are both tormented in the way which is set forth in the lecture alluded to, and every particular therein mentioned is applicable to the murderer of the innocents, though improperly confounded with the persecutor and murderer of the apostles. Yeah, well, he didn't persecute and murder the apostles, did he? I don't think he did anyway. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm going to look it up in just a minute. I think he's talking about the two Herods. Yeah? The Herod who was king at Jesus' birth and the Herod who was king at Jesus' death. So, let me look that up really quick. I think that's what we're talking about. Hopefully. Cross your fingers. Come on, computer. Wake up. No more sleeping. Okay. Herod from the New Testament. Okay. Herod Antipas. Oh, no, there's only one. There was only one who ruled from 20 BC to 39 AD. Well, so if he ruled 20 BC, like that's before Jesus' birth, and then after his death, clearly 39 AD, his death was around 33 AD-ish, plus minus a year or two. Anyways, I don't think we know the exact date, but it's close. Okay? First century ruler of Galilee and Perea, he bore the title of Tetrarch and is referred to as both Herod the Tetrarch and King Herod in the New Testament, although he never held the title of king. He was the son of Herod the Great. Okay, maybe that's what they're talking about as like the two different ones. He is widely known today for accounts in the New Testament of his role in the events that led to the executions of John the Baptist and Jesus of Nazareth. Following the death of his father in 4 BC, Herod Antipas was recognized as Tetrarch by Caesar Augustus. Oh, he didn't rule from then. He was... Okay, so that's when he was born. Okay, 20 BC. Oh, gosh, 4 BC. He was 16? Gosh, that's not... Okay, that's horrible. Okay. Following the death of his father, he was recognized as Tetrarch by Caesar Augustus, and subsequently by his own brother, the ethnarch, Herod Archelaus. Antipas officially ruled Galilee and Perea as a client state of the Roman Empire. He was responsible for building projects, the construction of the capital Tiberias, named in honor of his patron, the Emperor Tiberius. Of course it was. And the city later became a center of rabbinic learning. Antipas divorced his first wife, Phasaelis, the daughter of King Aretas IV, in favor of Herodias, who had been formerly married to his half-brother Herod II. Antipas was Herod the Great's son by Malthace, while Herod II was his son by Marimene II. So they were both named Herod, but they were from different mothers. Yeah, that's what I understand. That's confusing. So that does explain why this person appreciated being told that there were two different Herods. Yeah, because if they're mentioning Herod, it's not necessarily that Herod. It might be the other Herod. Yeah, since there were two. According to the New Testament Gospels, it was John the Baptist's condemnation of this arrangement that led Antipas to have him arrested. John was subsequently put to death in Machaerus. Besides provoking his conflict with John the Baptist, the Tetrarch's divorce added a personal grievance to previous disputes with Aretas over territory on the border of Perea. Blah, blah, blah. I want to see how he died, yeah? Okay, well, actually, the result was a war that proved disastrous for Antipas. A Roman counteroffensive was ordered by Tiberius, but abandoned upon that emperor's death in 37 AD. In 39 AD, Antipas was accused by his nephew Agrippa I of conspiracy against the Roman Emperor Caligula, who sent him into exile in Gaul, according to Josephus. Accompanied there by Herodias, he died at an unknown date. Okay, so I guess that's what they meant by the wrath of God coming upon him, because he lost favor with the Emperor of Rome. Yeah? And then it's like the Gospel of Luke. Yeah, that part is okay. I wanted to know like how he died, so I'm going to kind of skip down. So also keep in mind historicity of gospel narrative. Due to the lack of historical evidence, it has been suggested that Jesus' trial by Herod Antipas is unhistorical. All right. For example, Robin Lane Fox, an English historian, alleges that the story was invented based on Psalm 2, in which the kings of the earth are described as opposing the Lord's anointed, and also served to show that the authorities failed to find grounds for convicting Jesus. Later reign, exile, and death. All right, when Antipas' fall from power was due to Caligula and his own nephew Agrippa, brother of Herodias. Really? Okay, when Agrippa fell into debt during the reign of Tiberius, despite his connections with the imperial family, Herodias persuaded Antipas to provide for him, but the two men quarreled and Agrippa departed. After Agrippa was heard expressing to his friend Caligula his eagerness for Tiberius to die and leave room for Caligula to succeed him, he was imprisoned. There you go. Don't speak against the emperor. When Caligula finally became emperor in 37 AD, he not only released his friend, but granted him rule of Philip's former tetrarchy, or slightly extended with the title of king. Josephus related that Herodias, jealous at Agrippa's success, persuaded Antipas to ask Caligula for the title of king for himself. Yeah, okay, yeah. However, Agrippa simultaneously presented the emperor with a list of charges against the tetrarch. Allegedly, he had conspired against Tiberius with Sejanus, and was now plotting against Caligula with Artabanus. Okay. As evidence, Agrippa noted that Antipas had a stockpile of weapons sufficient for 70,000 men. Wow. Hearing Antipas's admission to this last charge, Caligula decided to believe the allegations of conspiracy. In the summer of 39, Antipas' money and territory were turned over to Agrippa, while Antipas was exiled. His place of exile is described by Josephus in Antiquities as Lugdunum, a city in Gaul, and as Spain in the War of the Jews. There are two places in France that claim to be the place of exile: Lyon, Lugdunum, and Saint-Bertrand de Comminges, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Lugdunum Convenet, on the Spanish border. Antipas died in exile. In the 3rd century, historian Cassius Dio seems to imply that Caligula had him killed, but this is usually treated with skepticism by modern historians. Okay, so I think this is what they're talking about. That, like, what did they say? The judgments of God had come upon him. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, I think, because it sounds to me like he just lost favor with the emperor. Yeah, it happens. It happens, especially back then. Like, one person's in charge and they hire all their friends, you know? That was interesting to me and not at all what I was expecting. Once again, I thought they were talking, I feel like every article we have from this magazine does this. It's not what I was expecting. I'm aware. I say this all the time. However, the titles are very misleading. So I feel like I was expecting them talking about Dr. Glasse on the plurality of worlds, claiming that there cannot be more than 6 planets in the solar system for whatever weird reason. And actually, this one's about King Herod. see, like, it's like planet Uranus, King Herod, you know. It's not exactly what I was expecting. So sue me. I don't know. It just seems very strange to me that these titles are not at all what the article is about, or at least maybe it's simply because I live in such a different time that I can't understand the titles. Maybe that's it. So, giving them the benefit of the doubt. But this is why I like reading these articles, is because they're always a surprise to me and they're always something new to learn. And I hope you find it that way too. I found that very interesting in that I don't know that I ever knew what happened to King Herod. Did you? I mean, I think most of us have heard of King Herod, in connection with Jesus Christ, from the 4 Gospels. But other than that, I don't know anything about him. I did know that he had married his half-brother's wife. Yeah, and that's why John the Baptist was killed. Once again, I said, I've read the Bible. Yeah? If you hadn't read the Bible, you might not have known that. Other than that, I didn't know anything about Herod, and I didn't know why he lost his place. He was a little buddy-buddy with Tiberius, the emperor of Rome, and then after Tiberius's death, Caligula is like, no, get out of there. And, yeah, and so off he went. That was it. So, Gaul, I believe, is, apparently it's in France. I actually thought it was Spain, so, maybe it's both. Maybe it's, on the border, but anyways, I think that's really interesting that you get exiled to a place and then you immediately die. I think that's a little strange. But other than that, yeah, that's kind of how life went back then, yeah? Anyways, let me know what you thought of that. If you have any insights into it as well, I would appreciate that. I feel like I'm misunderstanding a lot of the meaning behind people's words when we are talking about, when they're alluding to different things from this century. So if you have any more insights into that, I would love to hear them. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.